would you need to make a bomb, or could you just steal one from work?
Yeah, but God, those bombs at work are so accountable, and you got to sign them out. And honestly, I mean, I could get one, but it's just gonna be so much paperwork. I'd rather just build one.
True.
And now that our podcast is on the NSA watch list,
especially for the SARS I'm coughing all over. Welcome to Everyone Racers, a show designed for the world of low-dollar racing and oddball car culture. It doesn't matter what kind of lemma champ or lucky track dog you run, SCCA or NASA, we won't discriminate, as long as you drive it hard and built it yourself. Join us each week for tech discussion, tips, tricks, news and notes in the world of low-dollar endurance racing. Lucky enough, just a tip. We're sure you'll giggle a little and learn even less. Everyone report to the paddock.
This is Chris.
This is Chrissy.
I'm Jeff.
and I'm mental.
And we are Everyone Racers. Thanks for coming back and listening to a Fiat Spider episode of our podcast. It's episode 124. If you're not driving a car, don't forget your E1R bingo card. Jeff, yes.
I thought the Fiat 124 was the coupe sedan hardtoppy thing.
They named everything the 124. Yeah.
Exactly. It was a coupe sedan. Then it was that 70s cool little spider thing, and now it's the Miata.
Yeah, the Fiata. You'd think if they were just doing like an alphanumeric number thing like that they could have other ones, but no. It's like, well, we already have these batches, right? They are the
124. Right. No one ever thought, hey, let's make a 125.
No. 124 is good enough. Why?
Why are you giving me the hassles?
Have some wine. Call your mama. He's fine.
I was going to suggest that we say welcome to another content hole episode. No. As in, like the hole we're falling in content, because
no
24 hours preferred. We're like, hey, did we invite anyone to interview? Oh shit!
Don't tell them how the sausage is made.
Sorry, I won't.
Gosh, we are a very professional podcast that with a very strict schedule. And we never do things on the fly, ever.
No. And if anyone from the New York Auto Show is listening as a result of an application for press, we are the single largest amateur endurance racing podcast in the United States.
The leading
or
one,
people,
yep.
The people that just started listening to us now and decided to listen to the last episode to see if
they're going to shut us off in about 2 minutes. So how about what you're working on, Mental?
Is that what we
What are you
with
working on aside from polishing out that beer?
Exactly. So just got back from Barber. We'll talk a little bit more about that later. And I have settled into work. We had a conference going on this week. I have signed up for an autocross on Sunday. The Las Vegas Sports Car Club of America has a monthly autocross. They're pretty active. So now that I have something that runs and won't embarrass me.
Well, it might still embarrass you.
Doing a cross on Sunday.
Can I give you some tips for it?
Absolutely.
Put it all in sport modes.
That's happening.
Manual on the shifter. Basically, just leave it in second, not first, because second you have enough power you can easily overcome the rear tires at any point. So actually, quick switchback become not a big deal.
There's no way I've done that at all since I've owned it.
No, it's fine. I somehow got that thing to a mid-pack in the really tight autocross at one lap. The first time I ever autocrossed it, I was like, well, that's pretty good. I'll take it.
And that was in a go-kart track.
Yeah.
Or a little bigger than.
It was a tiny track. It was a tiny little track with a ton of super tight turns that the car almost would have to do a 3-point turn if it was actually just driving at normal parking lot speed. But instead, you use the loud pedal. It comes right around, and you keep going.
Excellent. So, and I honestly, I have not autocrossed in 6 years, so I don't expect to be competitive. I'm just going out there having fun. And then towards the end of the month, I signed up. The karting track here they have a monthly karting league, so they do a race for 2 races each month. You get a qualifying and then 2 races for $90. They break it down into weight classes of 180 pounds, either below or over. And then
I'd be in the over.
Over. Yeah, no, I'm.
Do they have a hella over? Like fat as category?
Yeah, no.
Hey, you're slightly less fat as now, right?
Right.
I don't know. I got on the scale at the doctor's office today, and I was like, oh.
That Scale's a dirty liar. Yeah. And then Extreme Experience asked me to come down, so I will be revisiting my old stomping grounds at NOLA Motorsports Park at the end of February. And we'll actually talk about it as we get a little bit closer, because I do love that track.
Well, awesome.
Wait, hold
question.
on. Chrissy, I would like to wish you a happy National Girls and Women in Sports Day.
That is true.
Thanks. Woo. I saw this and I said, I'm not celebrating because I don't think you should need a day to celebrate this. Because then we should say, do we have a National Man Play Sports Day? No.
We do. It's the other 364 days.
Yeah. Right? So
but Shea Holbrook had it on her Instagram. So
everybody did. It was lovely, and it's very good, and I'm very happy for especially the women in motorsports that we're celebrating. That's great. I did not feel like I needed to post a picture of me in my race suit to say happy that women can play in a sport where men play in a sport, but I'm just as good, if not better, at most men.
What a member of the Floodstang team, A, just stop listening, and B, suck on that, because you get outdriven by Chrissy.
I mean,
oh, that's fantastic. I still have a question about the autocrossing. Can we go back to that?
Yes.
So, Chris, you're still online here. What exactly does a CLS 63 AMG weigh?
About
Any
40,
idea?
Yeah, it's about 4,300 pounds.
That'd
about
be great,
200 pounds more than my 1,500 Suburban.
Have fun with that, Mental.
Your Suburban's a little more. I've got the full data specs for the Suburban, and yours is still a little bit more than that. It's over 5. Mine's like 6,800. So yeah.
So there you have it, folks. CLS 63 AMG, fatter than a Suburban.
No, it's less. It's less than a Suburban. It's like 800 pounds less. There's your top consumer advice that we're giving today.
So Chrissy's dad is currently daily driving Mental's old car.
Correct.
Yep.
And Mental is now daily driving Chris and Chrissy's old CLS 63.
Correct.
When do I get to share in the great car exchange?
You can buy Chrissy's dad's Ford Escape.
No, I don't want that.
It's sitting outside our house.
It's only $500. It's great.
Or less. If you give me a deal, if you say you want it, I'll give you a deal.
Don't want it.
I've got a great idea. You could buy a Citroen.
It's a Citroen. Check it off your business card. Somebody says it wrong.
Your business card.
I'm sorry.
We're not even trying anymore, folks.
124
episodes.
A lot of things to cover.
We're not even
drunk. Chrissy,
what are we working on? We're not even drunk.
Fantastic weekend with friends in AC. That was fun. We saw some races.
Our new listeners, what is AC?
I'm getting there. Okay, so it's in Atlantic City. We went and saw some roundy round racing, and these are go-kart type cars with engines that are pretty big, bigger than go-karts. And there's a couple different kinds that happened there. A couple different kinds of go-kart type things. Yes. And we don't participate at all. We have some friends that do. They struggled most of the weekend. So we just drank, partied, went to bed, woke up hungover, started drinking again.
Thank you.
No, I was okay too. Yeah. There was people that were much worse than we were.
And that's much.
Saw that on our social media.
Oh man, so yeah, what we called Ohms the fleet manager of the struggle bus, and there were people that were the regional managers. Yeah, there were lots of struggle bus.
I was just going to say, we're being a little vague because we are going to probably do a show on the roundy round business, but we should mention that this is an indoor race, an indoor circle track race. So imagine 750cc motorcycle powered death carts inside a hockey rink. That's what you guys were watching
on Coca-Cola.
That's not
on Coca-Cola.
On Coca-Cola. None of that is an exaggeration at all.
No. So, and it's very expensive. The cars are very. They have a lot of money into the cars that win. So anyway, we'll talk about that later. So we had a great time this weekend. Then there was some sports happened on Sunday, but we just had a party, so that was fine. Then I was off to Atlanta for 24 hours. I got back, and I have a lot of extracurricular drama with my nonprofit happenings that I am trying to stay ahead of. And then we have this week's rendition of Guess the Rental.
Oh,
Okay.
This is your 24-hour trip to Atlanta.
Correct.
Go ahead. Give us some hints.
Yeah, it was 24 hours. I didn't have to. I went to one store for one small thing, so I didn't need to move a whole lot of appliances or stuff. Yes, go.
And your overall impression, in a nutshell.
I liked it. I might even say sporty.
Ooh, okay. Nissan Maxima.
Ugh. No.
One more
Nobody
time.
would ever choose a Nissan when they have a choice. I'm going to go with Charger.
No.
I'm going to do the same vote I had last week, Challenger.
No. No. Now whatever. I chose it, and this is what I did. I was in a Corolla.
Oh.
I thought it was fun.
Yep.
I thought the four-door or the hatch?
No, four-door. But I thought it was more fun than what did I have before, the Camry, I think?
Camry.
Yeah. It was more fun. It was more responsive. I liked it. Yeah, I thought it was.
I wanted a Corolla in Florida, and there was just none available except for one that was dirty and disgusting, so I didn't take it.
Yeah.
So, and you could still buy a Corolla with a manual transmission.
Mm-hmm. And a hatch.
And a hatch. And just to address from our guests of fleet sales last week, when I was returning my rental on Sunday, there was a Honda Accord. Now, Honda doesn't do fleet sales, but I think that Enterprise went out and bought some Honda Accords just to make some of their long-term customers happy.
Interesting.
Possible. They could buy them directly from dealers, but Honda doesn't sell really to fleets in general. That's a kind of their thing. Keeps their lease prices up. So which is why Nissans are flooding the markets, because they can't sell them any other way.
Right.
So
I was traveling with a coworker, so I had to convince him. He was like, "Oh, do you want a midsize SUV?" And I was like, "No." So I was like, "Nissan?" I was like, "No." So
Have you ever been to Atlanta? No, you do not want an SUV.
No, I didn't drive so much. I only airport back to Stockbridge, half an hour south, a little bit around town, and then come back. So it wasn't a long trip, but I still needed a rental, and that's what I got. So I was pretty happy with it.
So Mental, what was your rental this weekend?
Yeah, right. We
guess the
play
rental.
the same game.
No, and we're cheating because I told everybody last week I rented a minivan in case I had to sleep in it or haul a bunch of people around.
Right.
So yeah,
Good
I
choice.
just got the Dodge thing, and yeah, it did exactly what we needed.
Did you have stow and go?
Yes.
Yes.
Actually,
so you had like an actual bed.
Only Chrysler minivans are in the rental fleets. So.
Yeah.
Yes. And I didn't end up having to use it. I ended up sleeping in Jerry's heated trailer.
I was going to say Donnie's Caress.
which is a warm and gentle place to be.
All right.
Who's
Jeff,
next? Me or you, Chris?
Well, you
Sure.
go.
As I mentioned last podcast, I was on a family vacation, and I got my Disney on, and I got my Star Wars on, and Jen Stewart out there, please call me. We will talk about the amazing Star Wars land that is in Florida. It is incredible, and Disney Imagineers are amazing. And then I got home, and I felt great because my cold was gone on Monday. I got a good workout in, and then yesterday, all of a sudden, bam, I don't know, coronavirus. I can't figure it out.
Don't die.
That's it. I'm trying not to die. That's the best thing.
Did you get a flu shot this year?
Did not.
Okay, because I'm hearing that there's a strain of flu out there that is the polar opposite of the flu shot.
My wife got a flu shot and got the flu.
Yeah, I've had two people in my office with it.
So
It's still worth it.
We're okay.
Chris, what you working on?
Well, I also went to the indoor racing and eating and drinking time in Atlantic City. Atlantic City is a terrible, terrible place, but our friends are fun, and I like spending time with them, so that's good. Check out our E1R Facebook. I'm pretty sure we put a video of Bruce riding the mechanical bull up there. So
Yeah, we did.
he did a nice job. Yep. Yeah, Ohms didn't do as well. But, no one's surprised. More housework around here. Got both bathrooms basically buttoned up, ready to go. Did my welding.
What's the matter with the guest bathroom?
I had little touch-up things to do with it. Like there's some spots that needed paint
Okay,
touch-ups.
because that thing on the ceiling totally wasn't me. I don't know what happened there.
Yeah, I don't know. Now I had to do some recalking and some stuff, and little things that you need to do. So it's done. Yay,
All
Chrissy.
right.
I forgot that it was my birthday. It was that we passed through the best day of the year. So there's that.
Did we wish you happy birthday last week?
Yeah, we kind of glossed over it because we were talking. What?
Happy birthday.
Oh, thank you. I was just saying, if we're talking about what happened last week, I worked on my birthday.
What's happening tomorrow?
It's the second best day of the year.
It's Thursday. Yep.
And you're both wrong because April 15th is the best day of the year, but whatever.
Tax day?
So
yeah, it sounds like a terrible day.
Yeah, why is tax day?
It does sound like a terrible day, but it's Vicky's birthday.
Oh, okay. It's Chris's birthday tomorrow. Birthday season.
News and notes.
News and notes time. I'm opening up my. So beware, Chrissy. I have two stories about YouTubers, and neither of them are about little bears. Are you ready?
I'm
sad.
Are
you excited?
I just don't believe you that neither of them are about little bears.
They're not.
Is it about a tool bear or a
no
tool pig?
Bears, no little bears, no pigs, no anything like that. So Donut Media, a magazine-style YouTube channel. Baby. Yeah, more power. Thank you. And I'm going to look for Mental for a shout out later, which is a YouTube car giant. They have 3 million subscribers. So they are one of the biggest YouTube channels that is making car content out there. Even like Tavarish, the guy that I was like, oh my God, at SEMA, he's only got like 1 million. So this is like really big. So they did a missing bumper to missing bumper feature on, quote, this disgusting Miata is faster than your car. And it's a great profile of our friends over at Eyesore Racing. And they're totally butt ugly Miata. So Lemon's content on the biggest car YouTube channel. We should all go check it out. But here's why you really want to check it out. Because they really dive into some of the tricks in the trade that their method of making their Miata so amazing. I was surprised to see them kind of tell some of their secrets. A totally trick method for topping off their radiator without taking the radiator cap off because it lives where the passenger seat does. They have a giant arrow wing. Everybody's seen it, and their mounting method is banned in every single race series except for Lemons, because obviously we don't have those kinds of rules. I won't give it away because I want everyone to watch, because the more Lemons content blows up on real YouTube channels, hey, maybe they'll start covering more amateur endurance racing of all kind. So
I thought it was good. I thought it was great. I truthfully didn't watch it until you said you were talking about it today, so I watched it. I saw it all over all of our internets and Facebooks and all that good stuff. It was really interesting. I knew it was a great car. I've raced against it plenty of times. Didn't know much about it, so I thought it was great. It was really interesting.
Chris, have you seen it yet?
Mm-hmm.
He watched it with me.
I'm totally gonna remount some of our arrows so it's like theirs, if you know what I mean.
Our car's front drive, so
damn, front wing, what the fuck?
Well, one of them is front drive. If
yeah,
there's a Z that ever shows up, or the Solstice, or
so Mensa, I know you're a Donut subscriber, so I'll say that they did not.
I did not. I have not gotten into it yet. Yeah,
they did not cover the pop up and down headlights.
Pop up and down headlights. Pop up and down headlights.
What's going on?
We're gonna get sued for that later.
No, because we're pitching them. Link in the show notes. Go watch that.
I have no idea what's going on.
Bull horses.
You have another story here.
You have all the stories, Jeff.
All the stories.
Sorry. Okay, so another YouTube story I will get through quickly because Chrissy's eyes are going to glaze over. But this is the most Florida thing you've ever seen in your life. Donnie probably has a little bit of wood. So car stuff rarely makes the YouTube trends, because everybody's watching TikTok and swimming in Orbeez and crap. But last week, some car content made the front of YouTube, and it's so Florida, you're not going to believe it.
Not just YouTube. This was national news. This was on Haggerty's. This was on local televisions. Yeah. This is awesome.
So, well-known drag racing YouTube Florida man Cletus McFarlane, instead of turning his YouTube backsheesh into Lambos, purchased a closed racetrack. Yes, DeSoto oval and figure 8 track, which is connected to his local drag strip, Braderton Motorsports, which is right outside of Tampa, I figured out. Hasn't been open for a couple of years. It is the weeds are growing through the asphalt, but everything is there. It's basically ready to open as soon as they pull all the weeds and clean it up. They are going to pour all of their YouTube hundreds of thousands of dollars.
They already did. They leveraged themselves for this one.
Into saving a really cool racetrack, even though they are not circle trackers. So they're going to pave the inside. They plan their first event, Cletus and Cars, late in 2020. Which features burnout contests and general hoonery of all kinds. They've renamed the track the Freedom Factory because that's the kind of dudes they are. The video has 2 million views on it, which is absolutely crushing. They're about 750,000 view average. Link in the show notes. Florida Man Donnie, call them up. We know we're going to be racing school buses there at some point.
Well, and this is the same guy, to give everyone. He's the guy that bought a former NASCAR or a NASH truck, a Camping World Truck Series truck, and put plates on it.
Yeah, and drives it around.
Drives around. He took a Corvette, put twin turbos on it, and then cut it down to a ghetto set style cart. Then he's got another twin turbo Corvette. They made a diesel powered Ford Fairlane.
Ford Galaxy.
These are Ford Galaxy. These are our kinds of people. And actually, in the launch of that Freedom Factory video, another YouTube favorite of all of ours, from the Roadkill show. Why is his name escaping me?
He yells at people.
No.
I like this.
The nice guy that lives in Georgia, from Hot Rod.
Yes.
Oh, for goodness sakes. Anyway. Yeah,
he was on the video. Another cool part about this is I really started watching for LS swap stuff because they do a lot of LS swapping, and I've learned some tricks of the trade if I ever want to turbo a LS.
Oh,
excellent.
So when we were ready to blow the Z up, then
right.
Okay.
Mike Finnegan. That's the guy. Finnegan showed up there.
Chrissy, save us from YouTube hell by telling us about something else.
This is an interesting thing. A local artist loaded 99 cell phones into his tiny red wagon, caused a fake traffic jam. Brian Barnett of Wired was one of the folks reporting on Simon Weckert, who drew attention to the system that we take for granted and let them know how they shape us. It's getting attention because it's fun, sure. But it also serves a necessary reminder that the systems people take for granted involve inputs and outputs, and they themselves are sometimes both. It shows how simple it is to fool a product in which people put tremendous amounts of faith, and it illustrates how maps aren't natural either in their creation or interpretation. So I hopefully you're following this. So the guy, I had to read the article because I was trying to follow. Guy is just walking along in his little red wagon, and he's putting all the phones in it, and then the internet thinks that all the phones are in one spot and you're all in a big traffic jam, but he's literally in this middle of the street and there's no cars around, and he just walked up and down a street at random.
And to be a smart ass, he parked him in front of Google headquarters for a little while so that they had a traffic jam in front of Google headquarters in Berlin.
That's great.
That's awesome.
And I don't think it's a complete accident that he went with the 99 in the red wagon.
Yes, he was from Berlin.
Yes.
Yeah, he looks like it.
99.
Exactly.
Right?
So funny.
Interesting concept. Surprised nobody's done it before, and makes me realize that I constantly rely on Waze and Google Maps for like my life, and I if it's wrong, I'm sad. So I rely on this.
Cartography is a human endeavor.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right.
That's what I got.
In happier news, Corvette Magazine.
Corvette Magazine.
So the first of the actual production 2020 Corvettes have rolled off the Kentucky assembly line this week.
Corvette Magazine!
After strikes, filling old C7 orders, drag races, engineer arrest, and the folding armchair toting boomer screaming, "Not my Corvette!" GM says the first new model of the iconic sports car was completed on Monday at the Bowling Green assembly plant, where, of course, all Corvettes are built. And it's also the Motor Trend's car of the year. It's going to start arriving at dealers later this month or in March. And if you care, the link is in our show notes.
We do care.
It
Nice
is.
car.
It's a great value.
It is.
So SCCA's Track Night in America is a great thing to do with your new C8 Corvette, aside from go to Cars and Coffee with your New Balances and your Corvette jacket. So get out there and use that car. Season kicks off in April, but apparently Haywood Wagner couldn't wait that long, so they announced 7 dates in March, and we're starting right next week at Palm Beach. So through March, schedule includes PBIR, Motorsports Ranch, Harris Hills, NOLA, CMP, Thunderhill, and Memphis. And it's a great, easy, low-stress way to get out and track. Like you're not really going to get any instruction, but you're going to have a nice time inexpensively and only take a half day off work during the week to do it. So give it a shot.
Mm-hmm.
Corvette
Okay.
Magazine.
Magazine.
Was that not appropriate? Go ahead.
No, it's fine.
It's totally fine. Okay, so I don't know how to translate this onto a podcast, but hopefully you all
We did share it on our Instagram.
already today? Already now?
Yes, we reshared this Ross Bentley post on our Instagram.
Oh, that's wonderful. Well, Speed Secrets, which you should follow on Facebook because, and then you'll be jealous because he always posts pictures of where am I racing, where am I coaching today? And I'm like, cool. I do try to figure it out though.
It's good to be Ross Bentley.
Yeah, not a bad thing. So he put up this this graph here. So the line on the bottom is time / experience, and then he's got a couple curves. So they all start at the same place, and there's one curve that. How do I even explain
Do you want me
this?
to try it?
Sure.
So the first one is comfort. Comfort goes up significantly at first, and then peaks, and then gradually goes down with time and experience. Speed goes up from the start, and then levels off, and then starts to go up again gradually to the end. And lastly, comfortable being uncomfortable starts off low and flat and stays that way, but then gradually increases with time goes on. Is that pretty good?
That's pretty good.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
For the folks listening, it's a distance graph. Now he's got time and experience at the bottom, but it's basically the two-dimensional graph where you see the
X and Y axis, but
right.
The X-axis is time experience. The Y-axis is undefined, but it's those things and just more. So yeah.
So when you're at the, let's say like 30% in, your comfort is very high, your speed is at the middle, and your comfortable being uncomfortable is really low. So this is basically where Alan is getting all of his black flags.
Yeah. Yep. Mental.
So as soon as Chrissy posted this up, I actually really nerded out and went over there because I subscribed to Speed Secrets this year, and you totally should as well. It was like they had a Black Friday deal, and every week he sends you something, and it's supposed to be one speed tip. It ends up being about 4 per email, and he links to a lot of good stuff. But I feel like I'm a pretty quick driver, but I am not comfortable being uncomfortable. And that was one of the goals I set out this year. And I think, Chris, you talked about something similar, and I don't want to steal this from you, but you want to push your braking zones. And what I wanted to do is actually get more comfortable not having 100% of traction, because a lot of times that's the fastest way around is to let the car kind of dance a little. And that's always unsettled me. And that was actually something I was actively working on this weekend. So I am.
That's good. Work on that in other people's cars first.
But it's one of those things. And once you get comfortable not being in absolute complete control, after a slight dip in your speed, you're going to see your speed start to go up. And I think an excellent example of this is the dishwashing fairy, because we used to always send him out first because he was the most conservative. He was the most aware. He would always complain that there weren't enough mirrors in the car because he wanted to see behind him. But we knew absolutely the car was going to be, on pace and safe when it came back. And I think one time when he got a false black flag, we made the joke of, did he even know where the penalty box was? And he is now steps outside of his comfort zone and is really darn quick in that Cressida.
Yeah. I think sometimes though, the comfortable being uncomfortable has a bit of an inverse curve to it, because when you start, you have no idea what you should be uncomfortable about. Like you have no clue.
Yes.
So you're comfortable. Like the whole thing is uncomfortable because you don't really know what you're doing, but you're kind of comfortable with the fact that I know nothing, and that's fine. So I think you need to have it you're comfortable be high, then drop down, then come back up. Like, because at first you don't know that that you should be scared. Like,
yes.
And then eventually you learn enough to know, oh, that's frightening, and then you learn enough to know how to like get yourself out of it. So,
and I think that's like the missing.
I'm sorry, Jeff. I cut you off. Go.
I was gonna say I think the missing line here is like understanding of the danger, because I think that is like a different axis that you're describing.
Yeah.
And
like
I think
we'll talk about Alan again, just because it's fun to pick on him a little bit. That's why he was so fast at Road Atlanta in the truck, is because he no fear. He's like, oh, this is great, and he's just going, and he just hasn't had enough of a problem to have that fear that you need eventually. So yeah,
the fear saves you.
Yes,
sometimes, yeah,
sometimes.
But the inverse of that, I think, is Vicky, and she's exactly where you just described, Chris. Is it all kind of scares her a little bit right now. She likes it, and she's got the right approach. Now, we're not telling you folks go out there and get uncomfortable immediately. This is meant as a plateau breaking train of thought. You need to be comfortable, and you need to spend some time being comfortable and being competent in a race car to the point where the judges forget who you are because they don't see you in the penalty box, and you're out there consistently ticking off laps within a few seconds of each other. So don't try and skip ahead and go out there and be a lunatic. Get comfortable, and then when you feel that you've plateaued and you're ready for the next step, this is what Ross is talking about. And if you want to understand all this, subscribe to Speed Secrets because it's friggin' awesome.
Well, like with anything else, if you want to get better at something, you have to expand your comfort zone. The only way to do it is to push it. So,
exactly.
Yeah.
Well, good.
Upcoming races, Chrissy.
This weekend, Champ Car is at Road Atlanta. 85 cars, which is a pretty good turnout for them. Yep, 18 BMWs.
Boring.
17 Miatas, 6 Hondas, 3 P cars, and the Hung North is the Grumpy Butt Supra. Is the whatever. Next week,
supposed to be, they're in the Grumpy Butt Supra.
They are at 2.
They're Supra. Thanks for asking.
Okay, and next week they'll be at Sonoma, so we'll talk about.
That's a good super theme. How are you? I'm
that
Supra.
It's painted across the back. That's what it says.
Yeah. Awesome.
But if you just made one like Big Gay Al from South Park, and just that was your whole thing, right? Exactly. I'm Supra.
I think that the best themes are either totally current, like this weekend Squirtin' Coronas became Squirtin' Coronavirus, or it's so old that half the people don't get it.
Yeah.
Big Gay Al.
But classic enough that the people that do go, oh yeah. Oh, okay.
That's pretty good. Yeah.
Okay.
Recent.
Okay, stop. This past week, a staggering amount of intrepid travelers embarked on the Lemons Retreat from Moscow Rally. In the end, does anyone actually win a Lemons Rally?
No, you survive.
Right. As we talked about,
unless you're Giant Dave, in which case you don't even do.
I didn't say everybody survived.
No, because then he didn't win. That was very sad.
Don't worry, folks, he's still alive. His transmission just gave out.
Oh, we know why too. Okay, so this dishonorable mentions were interesting. Team Turbo Bratwurst Benz fed everyone at one of the stops. Jimmy Six was in a 53 GMC pickup. There's a family heirloom. Eric notes they were slow behind everyone and constantly wrenching. The B team piloted a 95 Caravan and held up their water pump with just 3 bolts, alt RTV, and a prayer. And this is so funny. The not scrappy R Fuji's were in a smart car and again Eric asked, how dumb is this? And the Z Canes trucking in a Ford F-150 running for a dog adoption earned an entry fee. Awesome.
Free entry.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, free entry.
So if you really do care about the points, third place went to Team Sourpuss in a very yellow Toyota Previa minivan, which I posted up on the Instagram from the E1R, like, Previa! They got all excited. But they stayed in costume all week long, and that is a theme for all the winners, you'll note in a minute. Second was Shake and Bake in their Karen-themed Caprice wagon. She wants to see the manager, and they were also in character the entire week. The winner on points was Uncle Rico LLC in a 68 Ford Country sedan, and at the event they were great participants. They had an awesome attitude. The regional award went to Monster Foodies and their Roadmaster wagon. This was a family who was the entire time they were in Sesame Street hoodies with their young child. At one of the rally hotels, the manager comes to them and says, the valet can't get your car to start. So they had to go to the valet parking lot and replace their starter in the valet parking lot.
And it was like 30 degrees.
Yeah. I mean, it was like 30 degrees the entire rally, pretty much. So,
well, fortunately, in a small black Chevy, the starter just drops off the bottom with 2 bolts and a wiring plug.
Absolutely.
Nice.
It does, but it invariably drops onto your very cold hand and slams it onto the pavement because it weighs like 12 pounds and you scream in pain.
Yep.
Chris, how often did I change the starter in the S10? I had it down to a science.
Yeah, and that one was harder than than like on a V8 one. They've got more clearance than in the damn S10 with the frame rails sticking in the way. So,
but it was the exact same starter. It was off a Camaro.
Yeah.
Firebird. The big award, Random Acts of Stupidity, went to Stratosphere Motorsports and their Men in Black themed Ford LTD, complete with inflatable aliens. They were noted because their approach to having fun wasn't just for them, but they really, really made everybody along the entire rally happy. So finally, organizer's choice went to the super cool Cadillac Fleetwood. We talked about it last week. Duke's Caddy from Escape from New York.
Number one, the Duke of New York. Yeah.
They had a Duke, they had a Snake Plissken, so that's all. What else do you need, right?
Yeah, they had the chandeliers.
The chandeliers, of course. Yeah. I saw on one of the Instagrams they said that like driving at night with the chandeliers on like totally destroys their night vision.
But they need dimmers.
It's too cool not to run them.
Yeah. That's what dimmer switches are for.
Yeah,
so the whole rally ended up.
Shouldn't a chandelier be on a dimmer anyway? I mean,
every light should be on a dimmer, as far as I'm concerned.
Mm-hmm.
So, hey, the whole rally ended at Barber. Mental was interacting with a few of the teams who were too nice to tell him to go away because he was there racing.
I gave them stuff. They were friends with me because I gave them beer koozies.
Yeah, you've used up your allotment of koozies now. So, oh well. Find someone else if you want a koozie now. Mental's out. So, Class A and overall went to TMMI Motorsports and their super quick Camry, which those are words you don't see together very often. One lap back was one of Ginger Race Team's boring cars. They had about 8 of them, and they're all BMWs, I think. They're all boring. And they held on to second by 33 seconds only over Silver Senior's Mark 8, which is ludicrous speed, but also uses ludicrous fuel. Class B was
ludicrous tires. That thing was a monster.
Yeah. But McGonaghy was really excited that someone was doing that in a Mark 8.
Mm-hmm. Well, but they were having problems because when McConaughey was behind it, it couldn't go left. It just went, all right.
Good thing Barber's a clockwise track for them.
Good.
So Class B was loose lug nuts in their Maxima. Class C went to the old dudes in their Ranchero after they got Heroic Fix last year. Plus, those are super nice guys, and that car looks good.
They are.
I like seeing it out there. Heroic Fix went to Donkey's Flying Carpet, a Purple Fortune Camaro with a supercharged 3800 in it. From host number 5, he said they were going to bring their spare non-blower engine, but thought, nah, we aren't going to need that. How'd that go? They needed that.
Oh, they needed it.
Yep. They drove 4 hours each way to Macon to fetch it, swapped it in, and blew it up again after 2 laps. So here's our top tip for those guys. Check your oil pickup to pan clearance. That's how the TR blew up 3 3800s in a weekend. Was the pan was just a little too close to the pickup, so as soon as they go out and get on it, it would suck it dry and spin a bearing. So that was frustrating.
I have something very important. We should recognize that this is the 2-year anniversary of not only the Eagles Super Bowl, but of our fantastic trip to Barber, which ended up being some of the best post-race stories ever. I just wanted to put a plug. If you're new to the podcast and you weren't here back in the day, episode 21, the Barber wrap-up and Super Bowl special, is a fantastic episode that you have to go listen to.
Episode 20 is not terrible either, but make sure your parents aren't in the room or your kids.
Oh, that was the drunk one, right? No, 21 was the drunk one.
Everyone was in the RV. Oh, yeah. We had a special guest from Johan, and
yeah.
So
but episode 22, where we're driving across Georgia, or Alabama, trying to find a place to get a drink.
Yeah.
We missed most of the game. Yeah. We walked into a bad bar. We were scared for our lives.
So,
because you almost catch a knife doesn't mean it's a bad bar.
4 attempts, and we ended up at an Applebee's in Carrollton.
I didn't want to give it away.
Hey,
okay.
You know what?
Oh, yeah.
Go cook yourself some bread heels and grease, and listen to that one sometime. Okay.
All right. So, hey, Donkey's Flying Carpet. Check that out because we may know a thing or two about blowing up a 3800.
Yeah.
More awards on that race though. The I Got Screwed was Freedom of Flight. And they're neighbors of the dishwashing fairy. He was trying to help them get the car right. Their first race at Road Atlanta, which their first race was at Road Atlanta. So now they wanted their cheaty as snot BMW E36 to be a real race car. So they drilled out the steering lock springs based on what they found online, a tutorial online. Now what they didn't do was get all that material out of that lock. So after the driver hops a few curbs and some material in there jostles around, it locks back up to steering, and as a result, that poor guy drove right into the wall.
That's
terrifying.
Clang.
Oh my gosh!
So they busted up the front of it, and they managed to get it back on the track, but the regulations are quite clear. You have to have a front bumper, which they didn't have anymore. And there was a car later that we'll talk about that didn't need their front bumper anymore, so they gave them their front bumper.
And we gotta say,
Steve didn't help with that part.
Yeah, dishwashing fairy not involved in the drilling of the ignition lock.
And here's another top tip: just take it off completely. You don't need a steering lock. You can take that whole thing off the column itself. It's a lead retaining bolt. You can go through it with a chisel, and then it just pries off. Life of the Paddock ended up being Duff Beer, which Eric admits is overdue, I think we're all in agreement that actually they've been the life of the Paddock many, many times.
Yep.
They were up at the top tier, handing out beer to the rally folks. They were rolling through the paddock like they always do with their 3 kegs in a wagon, offering everybody beer. They had a really, really good lager that I enjoyed, and then they were also down at the potluck that we did on Saturday night.
Yeah,
their beer is excellent, excellent. And they're super nice people, all of them.
Yeah, are awesome.
Mm-hmm.
All right, the regional award was Automotive Stereotype Fulfillment, which went to Nearly Adequate Racing, which in their Ford Pinto wagon, because yes, it caught fire, but they did loan their bumper to the BMW team so it could race, which is awesome. The org choice went to Junk Mail in a postal
M-A-L-E, by the way.
M-A-L-E, yep, in a postal spec Subaru Legacy wagon. And again, from Eric, really, both Subarus, 619 and 420, run flag-free at every single race. It's uncanny. They, again, both ran without mechanical flags all weekend, and considering how aggro the weekend was, that was worth a trophy. And
was bad.
Was it?
It was awful.
All right, so work choice was Thin Blue Swine, which actually did drive their Thunderbird from Huntsville to the track because their owner's trailer was stolen. I saw this on the internet for a while. This is about 90 minutes, which doesn't sound awful until you realize they had to drive home on Sunday, and it was 40 degrees.
I can't imagine driving the Civic 9 minutes on the street, let alone 90.
No, it would be very sad.
Friday they had a track day, and you had to sign up for it because it was run through a third-party organization. And if you didn't have the track day, you couldn't get on the track, or you couldn't even get into the paddock. And then they opened up the paddock to everyone else at noon. And I was standing up on if you haven't been to Barber, the paddock is tiered. There's 4 tiers, and you can get up on the hill, and it's a beautiful facility. And I was overlooking the road coming into the track, and I saw that Thunderbird driving in. I'm like, oh, dear God, they drove it. They did. They didn't even go rent the U-Haul. They drove that damn thing all the way down.
Yeah, everyone be careful on track this week. We got to drive this thing home when we're done. That's one way to make your drivers careful. So finally, the index of efficiency went to no naked tires and their 79 Pinto. As Eric said, it's Pinto that finished mid-pack and wasn't ever in anyone's way and didn't catch fire. So that's 2 Pintos, 2 awards. It's guaranteed success right there. Some other awesome stuff. Grassroots Motorsports was there with Tom Lamino's old Fox, which Hellebutt broke like everyone knew it would. That was great.
It was pretty. The paint job on it is really nice, and the wings were hysterical, but the thing's still riding around like a 4x4. It's like sitting up like a rally car.
Yeah. It's going to keep Hellebutt breaking. Like the Trans is on its way out, and good luck finding that. It's, not kidding. That one's from an 83 Volkswagen Quantum Diesel. Yeah. Find another one of those. So anyway, there's a Luxstang. It's a Lexus 1UZ and a Mustang with a totally stock suspension, so that's going well. And somehow they nuked the transmission. I don't know how they did that because that's an Asian AR4, and those are bulletproof. Like they put those in Tundras and Sequoias and tow with them. So they did something wrong. Florida Man had 3 cars, 2 of which kind of ran. So, hey, that's a success right there. Some not awesome stuff. Having to have a driver's meeting on Sunday because Saturday was so aggro.
Yes.
Shame.
Wow.
Shame on all of you. It must have been too many Northeast teams there. Shame.
Yeah. We really should get a bell.
Oh, I have one. I just can't reach it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was out on the track on Saturday, and I remember I was doing a pretty good job. I was in a pack with the Westerfield brothers, Acura, the Surreal Racing Honda Civic, and one of the teams came through. And Surreal Racing and Westerfield, they're both pretty quick teams, and they're usually pretty easygoing, really fun people. And a car came through there, and out of Surreal Racing, he went high and obvious with the Rhode Island wave. I mean, you saw him, he went full arm extension out of the window because he was not pleased.
Wow. You're the Rhode Island wave, you mean the international mono digital sign of discontent, right?
Yes.
In fact, I didn't actually flip anybody off this weekend, but yeah, it was they were.
Wow. But did you get flipped off? That's the question.
I wasn't around long enough to find out.
Well, why don't you tell us why?
Well, we could talk more enough about that when you talk about how I got into Florida Man's Mustang and how that worked out for me on Sunday afternoon.
Okay, well, tell us.
Go ahead. What are we waiting for?
Well, let's finish up the. All right, so
we're in your spot talking about fixing the Miata. So that was a perfect lead-in, and there's Smeltzer leaving you hanging.
All right, I was racing with the Inglorious Bastards, and they have yet to bring out the half-Aston because they can't figure out the suspension, and they want to do more than one lap. So they brought out both their Miatas again, and we broke both of them. But had a good time with it. We got the cars out there. We were dicing it up. And what was interesting is, for those of you who think horsepower will solve all your problems, these Miatas are both within 3 seconds of Randy Post in a crate motor 300+ horsepower Thunderbird. At the exact same track, because Jerry called me up Monday and was comparing times. He's like, I don't think we need more power. I'm like, no, you don't need more power, because he had looked up what Randy ran in the Thunderbird. We also want to give a shout out to the Miata Fix in Leeds, Alabama. They helped diagnose one of the Inglorious Bastards Miata, and they wanted to remind everybody who races at Barber, they're literally like 10 minutes away. And I'm also going to give a mad shout out to Florida Man Racing and Donnie, who was in Fail Inc. Racing, who let me take their Mustang and actually take the checker in it on Sunday. Now, this Mustang, it's an SN95 with a 4.6 liter 2-valve engine and a really nice shifter and a 5-speed. And at the moment it happened, I could trace back exactly what I did wrong. You know what Mustangs have a lot of?
Power.
You know what Mustangs don't have a lot of?
Brakes.
Handling.
Brakes. And you know what a Florida Man Racing Mustang has almost none of on
full
Sunday
power.
Race
Tires.
No, and so I get out there, I settle into the car. It's actually pretty quick, and lo and behold, here comes Mary from Tetanus Racing in the BMW, and we have a great battle for about 40 minutes. I managed to get around her going into turn 5, which is the paperclip that heads back towards the museum. I go from 5th down into 4th, down into 3rd, and as I go to place my foot on the brake, it goes to the floor. right to the floor.
Yay.
There are 4 cars around.
I don't know where this goes.
I threw it on the floor.
Yeah, there were 4 cars all around me, so the only thing I could do was grab second, dump the clutch, and walk it sideways through the corner. And that was the end of my competitive night. I waved to Mary as she blew past me, and I spent the remaining 15 minutes on the track trying desperately not to crash into anybody's car.
With no brakes.
No brakes. So I pull it in, and Pantless Matt walks over, and I say, "Hey, man, there's no brakes." They like, "Yeah, we know it's a Mustang." I'm like, No. There are zero brakes. We pull. I think pull.
Hey, Matt, there are no brakes. No brakes.
Actually, as I was rolling in, I shut it off in gear, turned the car off in gear so it would stop. Pantless Matt walks over, pops the hood, pulls the cap off the master cylinder, and goes, "Yeah, you got no brake fluid. None. Don't know where it went."
Ooh, where did it go? That's an important question.
Did you just put more in and drive?
No, I took the checkered. I'm not pulling off the track with 13 minutes on a car that still runs. I'll just stop being competitive, and I took the checker.
Chrissy, ask me how the brakes were.
The brakes.
Don't know. Don't use them.
I mean, sometimes you need to, so there's that.
I'm not complaining because they did let me take the car out, and it was a lot of fun, but it was just one of those, that line they were showing where, get comfortable being uncomfortable. I was there.
Okay. Well, let's move on to that is the end of Lemons this weekend, and now we're going to talk about Lucky Dog. So Lucky Dog was at Button Willow for the LDRL by Hankook Doggone Button Willow 20. They had a really interesting format. They ran a race with a race, which I think is interesting on how they actually kept track of all of these people of choose your own adventure. What did you want to do? You could run a 7-hour enduro Saturday plus a 6-hour enduro for the 13-hour race, or get some night driving with an 11-hour enduro Saturday and a 6-hour on Sunday. So for the 17-hour event, the SanCon number 2 lap, 1 lap over Lucky Fuss Racing, and 9 laps back was Spacey Racing. And for the 13-hour race, the Slow Dogs was 4 laps ahead of Zip Tie Racing, and with the Blue Line Racers group, that's funny, competing for the podium. And then the show favorites, Hella Shitty, was 6th in Lucky Dog C for their 13-hour race, while Occupy Pit Lane was 3rd in Class B for the 17-hour. That's a lot of racing going on there.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know how many cars were there? No.
Oh crud! I
That's all right.
actually had to look it up. I want to say 60. They limited.
That's pretty.
It was they limited it to 60. I think they only had 38.
Okay.
So we don't usually do this much racing coverage, but it's like the first race of the year. We're all excited.
Yeah.
But we definitely were going to mention that deep in Gator Donnie country, our previous guest Patrick Wilmot raced the 24 Hours of Orlando in his kart. This is an endurance karting event. They started in 5th, and all their drivers kept their kart up in the top 3 pretty much for the whole race. Patrick said on his Instagram, the nighttime hours were cruel to us again. They broke their clutch. They broke the chain, took us out of contention at the 12th hour. They finished the race 18th overall. Good news. They doubled the money they raised last year, all of it going to the Children's Hospital of Alabama. So if you have any of our social media, go give them $5 or $10. It all goes to kids in the hospital in Atlanta. I was going to say kids with cancer because that's what we say at school, but they don't all have cancer.
What kind of cancer?
I don't.
No.
Excuse me. Next year, the team plans to return and look for another appearance by Patrick beforehand on our show. In the meantime, follow his misadventures on Instagram, Wilmot Racing. WILMONTRACING.
This is a great segue to listener feedback. Okay, so I hope you listened to last week's show. If you didn't, you should probably just stop and start over again but on their we had a great laugh last week. On their Insta, a recent retreat from Moscow Rally Team called out Jeff. If you don't know who we are, this is us, and it isn't Scrappy R Fugees. It's Scrappy R and Refugees. They named it after resurrecting a 400,000 kilometer smart car from the junkyard. Yeah, Mental.
Safety tip, folks. Safety tip, folks. Before you go, Mental, don't blind read copy when you're high on cough medicine. If last week doesn't convince you, try and find Wilmot Tracing on Instagram. I swear I can read.
Yep, just same like we run with to reap Eid Almafia, you know.
So they just posted on their Instagram, the Scrapyard Refugees just sold that smart car to literally they had pictures of her jumping up and down. This very excited young lady who bought their car and wanted it left in the Minions colors that they had on there. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, I think they called it Kevin. Kevin is now off to a happy new owner who will love her and feed him and call him Kevin.
All right, so 2 weeks ago, Mental mocked everyone with his ugly but rust-free Toyota truck and asked what people were working on. Daryl H. responded he was rebuilding injectors for his B17A1. That's a rare one. That was only in the 92 and 93 Integra GSR. So
I was going to say, I don't even know what that is.
But it's the same fuel injectors that were in like every 90s Honda. So you want a spare set of injectors, Daryl? I think I got 2 or 3 sets downstairs. One of them probably recently rebuilt, actually.
Yeah.
Yep.
Brett Sloman was stripping the usable parts from the Celica, and we've got to pour some 5W on the ground for the mighty deceased Toyolet, but he still managed to snag a seat at Barber.
Greg, check off dogs barking in the background.
Wow, all the dogs.
Holy crap, right?
I think Michael Vick just showed up in a mental house. Dogs are going nuts over there.
Okay. Greg was working on his Buzz after a long paperwork day, but he had this really fancy glass that said CNC wedding.
Cool. David E. was at the other end of the rust spectrum. He had flushed 6 gallons of vinegar in his motorcycle tank. The vinegar had been dissolving the rust all week, and he was very proud of the results. And he also said, my garage smells like a salad, but the tank looks pretty good.
Oh, that's funny.
Dr. Florida Man was at the Rolex 24 babysitting VIPs, while Sean Sprague was also at the 24 Hours racing. So, you know, some people are in the stands getting paid. Yeah. Some people are on the track.
Yeah, paying a lot of money.
That's what trying to get to.
Cameron L. was adding a black heater to fix a problem that should not exist. E85 cold start sucks. Ben M was finishing up on a new dash and electrics, and Eric K told us no car work this week, but had a great band rehearsal.
So Bruce L was swapping parts into his new TQ in preparation for Atlantic City, and Joseph K shared a similar task in weather, wiring, cage installation, and engine assembly for the Time Attack car, except he was at 73 degrees in Phoenix, so nice time of year to work on the car in Phoenix.
I'd like to mention that even though I am desperately trying to survive this SARS or chikungunya virus, whatever I have,
Purpulitis.
You know what you need when you have a really sick person in your house? Mom's love. So hi to Chrissy's mom.
Oh, that's nice.
Can you send me some chicken soup or something? I'm not allowed to have cookies.
Wait, they're too caloric?
No, I just wanted to make a chicken soup joke.
Oh, okay.
I really don't need to eat chicken soup. She's probably like pulling out a pot right now.
Right?
No,
she's like, I'll make you a chicken soup.
Okay.
That's hard to mail. It's really hard to mail chicken
mail.
soup that you made. It's one thing to send like cup of noodles. That's about all you get.
All right. I will survive, I promise.
All right, so we're almost an hour into this, folks, but we actually do have a topic.
We do. So this is we're in this racing that started now. We need to think about actually working on the cars again one of these days. You know, like you really didn't want to do it in December as the holidays. You didn't want to do it in January because it's cold. It's February now, but first race might be coming up soon. And one of the things, if you're really trying too hard, is you might want to consider corner weighting. A lot of people have heard about corner weighting, think they might know what it is, not really sure, but also it's lemons. You go, what am I doing with that? But really, it's something that helps. So what it is setting specific weight distribution on your car per individual corner. Tonight we're going to discuss this for road racing applications. Circle track is in a completely other game with wedge and stagger and all that stuff to make the car want to turn left. Unless it's a Lincoln, then you make it turn right. All right. But anyway, so picture the following. Thanks, Jeff. Good. If I can make Jeff cough, then I'm all right.
That joke doesn't get bad. I'm sorry.
So imagine your car is really good in right-hand turns, but it understeers in left-hand turns consistently. Like if you get it neutral for left turns, then it oversteers in right turns. You're frustrated. You've tried springs. You've tried shocks. You've tried settings. You've tried different bars, pressures. Nothing is working consistently from side to side, and you have an evil handling car that's unpredictable. So the issue is likely uneven cross weights. Now, in the past, we've talked about contact patches. We've talked about dynamic weight transfer, etc. This is about static weight and static contact patches because all that has a big impact on your dynamic weight transfer, your dynamic contact patches, all that stuff, because it's about where the weight is in the car starting and where the wheels are starting from a pressure standpoint. If you've got two wheels that have a lot more pressure on them than the others, especially if it's uneven, then those wheels are going to have more traction, and it's going to change that handling balance. So your ideal goal is you want to get 50% of the weight per side, like left and right, and then you want a bit more weight on the driven wheels and the non-driven wheels, if you can, when the car is as raced. So with a driver, with some fuel, whatever else you're going to run in the car, that's how you want to do all this. So if you usually have a cool box in it, put the cool box in. If you usually have some extra gear in it, put the gear in, like lights, whatever it is. Put it all in the car as raced. For weights, just find whatever you got around the garage. We've used like batteries and spare parts and gone down to the gym.
Trailing arms.
Trailing arms, trailer hitches, anything you can get. Just get the weight correct for the driver. Just to, because really, and if you have a variety of people on your team and a big variety of weights, pick the middle weight. That's why, very conveniently, our car's set up for me. It's very nice that way. Thanks, Jim and Chrissy. So, anyway, here's what you need to do this. First off, you're never going to get your car perfectly settled at 50%. You're never really going to get 50% on the left, 50% on the right, and and 55% on the driven wheels. It's never going to happen, but you can get it closer. And if we get our cross weights even, now cross weights are like left front and right rear, or right front and left rear. That's a cross weight. So if you get those even, you're going to have the car in as neutral a handling as you can from left to right. And you also want to make sure you're moving things around in the car to have the weights in the best spots. Everything good so far, everybody?
Yep.
Except for whoever's asleep. So, yep. So here's what you need.
Listen up, folks. Chris found a practical use for math.
It's good, right. Except if you get certain scales, you don't need the math either. So you need a set of scales. These are like Intercop usually makes them. It's a set of 4 scales that go under your tires that all have a wire, or some of them are the fancy ones are wireless now, that plug into a display screen that gives you the weights. You need a level floor, and level floor is very important. If your floor is uneven, it's going to give you uneven weights on the scales, and you might actually make your car worse than when you started. So get a big level.
And your floor is already unlevel. Let's just go ahead and throw that out to everybody.
Pretty much, yeah. Like if you're not sure, just pour some water on it, see where it goes. There's your low spot.
Or just like the flat earthers, get yourself a 4-foot level, stick it in the middle of the floor, and go, see, flat.
That's right. So
actually happened on my campus, by the way.
I know it's good. To get the car, everything level, you're probably going to need some shims. VCT floor tiles work really well for that, for shims. So you need your car prepped as you're going to race it with weight in the driver's seat. You need whatever tools there are to adjust your suspension. If you have coilovers, you need adjustable wrenches. If you don't have coilovers, we'll talk about some other things you can do to adjust this. Otherwise, you need some paper or a whiteboard, and you need some heavy things. So first off, get your floor level using your shims. Get that all straightened out, both left to right and front to back and crossways. It needs to be a perfectly level floor. All right. Then set your tire pressures, because if you've got a low tire, that's going to change the balance too. You set the tires the way you race them. That's where you need it. Then get the car in the scales and get a baseline. See where you end up. Sometimes you might be pleasantly surprised that things are actually pretty good. If you have hub stands, this is a great time to use them, because this gives you full access to your suspension right there in front of you without having to take a wheel off or get the car way up in the air or any of those things. Mental.
And if you don't have hub stands, start saving for them, because I did this very ham-fistedly this weekend, and it involved taking the wheels off, putting the wheels back on, putting it up on jack stands, putting it back down, roughly 7 times.
Yeah. And having done it here with hub stands, you go, well, that wasn't that hard. So,
yeah, exactly.
And I will say that scales are something that if you know someone who owns them, you can probably borrow them because they are a healthy investment. Chris, do you own scales?
Nope.
Do we ever borrow them?
Yep.
Yes. So
Chris,
if you ask around
stands.
yes.
Yeah.
But if you ask
goes
around
around.
the paddock, if you ask around the paddock, you might be able to find someone with scales.
Yeah. Sometimes they're around.
And if you've got that expensive piece of equipment, that gives you a lot of leverage to borrow other expensive pieces of equipment.
Or extra beer to drink.
Or extra beer to drink, yes.
So the first thing you do once you get the car in the scales is first off be upset that it weighs more than the internet said it would once you took all the stuff out of it. This CRX weighs 1,600 pounds. Yeah, sure it does.
And it makes 130 horsepower. I'm absolutely certain.
Yep, and your E36 weighs 2,400 pounds too. I believe it. Anyway, first you need to move weight around in the car. Like move your if you need to get your left right weights, like move your battery. Make sure your battery is in the most advantageous spot, which probably means
great tip.
Right, it probably means on the right hand side, and probably means toward the back, and probably means as low as you can get it. So, that's a great thing to move. Your fire bottle, the fire system bottle, is big and heavy. Get that somewhere where it's going to help you. If you have to add ballast to meet your weight class for whatever class you're racing in, this is where you want to put the ballast, and the spot is going to matter most. So, again, probably on the right-hand side, down low toward the back for most cars. So, this is how... Go ahead.
I was just going to say, that's great because everyone immediately starts changing the suspension when they're quarter rating, which is probably not the right thing to do if you have these heavy things to move. Fix your car by design, not by settings.
Yeah, it's a lot easier, especially if you're building your car. You can check it beforehand too. See where is it starting off with, and then decide. Here's where I'm going to put the battery. Here's where I'm going to put the fire system, etc. Like obviously make it safe, but if you can have a weighted advantage by doing the same thing, might as well, right?
Yeah.
And this is the only way you can adjust your left, right, and your front, rear weights. Changing your coilover height isn't going to change anything except the height. It's not going to change your different weights on this. So moving things is the way to go here. Okay, so now let's look at the cross weights because that's all we can do now. And again, that's left front to right rear and left rear to right front. And you want to do everything you can to get the balance between those numbers to be even. So add up the left front and the right rear, add up the right rear and left front weights, and you want 50% on each. Most scales will show you these numbers combined. They'll show you your left side number, and they'll show you a cross weight number with a percentage. So you want to get it to 50%, excuse me. If you find that a pair is light, like let's say the left front, right rear, let's say those are light. All right, we need to get more weight on those. So what you do is you get the car up and then turn the spring adjuster for that corner down. Turn it down, so basically to raise the car at those spots. You can do one or the other, or both even. But even if you adjust just the left front, you're going to add more weight to the left front, the right rear, and take weight off of the left rear and the right front. So even just doing one makes a big difference. So really only make one change at a time because you'd be surprised at how much difference sometimes it can make, and not just on the wheel you changed. So like most things when you're testing a car, make one change at a time.
Mm-hmm.
Good. If you don't have coilovers, well, then there's some other things you can do. Things like spring spacers. Some cars, like I know BMW sells different bits of rubber that goes on top of the spring or between the spring and the chassis. And they actually sell different thicknesses of those to change ride height. So that's a great way you can adjust the height there. You can go old school and just get like the towing support spring things that go in the springs, like little spacers anywhere. That works too. So spacers can work to help adjust things when you don't have other adjustable options in your car. Mental.
This weekend, I was actually adjusting the ride height in one of the Miatas, and you'd be surprised if you don't have this stuff, and it has gotten to be where it's dangerously evil. Ask around, because some folks walked by and they had some of those rubber spring expanders that you fit in between the coils of your springs.
Yeah, and that might be enough to help. It'll also make your spring a little stiffer, which may or may not be good, but it'll change your how much weight is on that wheel. So think about it when you're doing it. So as you're doing all this, every time you make a change, write down all of your numbers for the weights. And if you really want to get fun, you can also add ride height measurements. So like measure from the floor to the pinch weld. That's a great way to do it, because that stays constant basically, and it's not too big a number. And you can even add things like measure the thread area that's showing on the coilover sleeves to give you some other area of repeatable adjustment. Mental.
Make sure that those sleeves are all in the same place on that shock. Ran into that this weekend because the sleeves had shifted around in the shocks, but we were able to measure the mounting point of the spring on the coilover versus the bottom of the shock, which was always an absolute number.
Good. There you go. As long as you get something that's repeatable, that's what you want. So make your changes, record your changes, do them one at a time, and then just keep repeating, and it's going to get tedious sometimes, but that is what it is. And especially if you're taking the car on and off the scales every time, you got to roll it a little bit. But if you just drop it right down to the scales on the tire, you're going to have some binding in the suspension of the tire, and it's going to get artificial adjustments to the wheels that were off the ground. So that's not going to be what you want. So either have a hub stand and something clean to roll it on, or roll the car on and off the scales every time. That's going to get your number. It's tedious. It's going to take some time, but keep going until you get within a 0.5% difference on cross weight. That's really where you want to be. Last time we did, I think we got to 5 pounds, and I said, good enough. Like, yeah, that's fantastic. I'm happy with that. But if you're not down to within 0.5%, like you've done all this work, you spent so much time setting it up. Go through the tedium, get it just right. Get it as close as you can get it. It'll make a difference. So, and remember that anytime you make a change to the weight of the car or in the suspension, it's going to change your cross weights. If you put different springs on, if you make adjustments to other alignment specs, if you add or remove equipment, it's going to change your weights. So to think about what you're doing and what change it's had and decide if you need to re-corner weight or not. So that's that.
Now, folks, it's a lot of math they just threw at you, but tell us the advantages that you've been able to dial into the Honda with some of these setups.
Well, it's mostly just to make the car so that it handles the same way both ways. So that that's the biggest thing. Because if you have on an even cross weight, you're going to have more. Like say you've got more traction, more weight on the left front and right rear. When you're making right turns, the car's going to oversteer because the front one tire's got traction and the back tire doesn't. And when you're making left turns, it's going to be the opposite. It's going to understeer because the front tire doesn't have any traction, but the back has more. So, no matter what you're doing with sway bars to try to get your balance and spring rates, et cetera, and alignment to get your balance right, if the weight on the wheels is different from one side to the other, it's not going to work consistently both ways. So really what you're trying to find this way is to be able to get consistency for at-the-limit performance.
And what kind of effect is this going to have on the longevity of your tires?
Not much of a difference at all. That's more about alignment and if you're overdriving it or not.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah. This is really about this is when you have nothing else left to work on, or you just want to do it for fun. This is the kind of things you do to get your car set up right, or if you just enjoy the setup part of it. This is another little thing you can do,
well,
just to
where do you fit in with where do you fit in with
all of the above?
No,
okay.
I would also argue if you've got a lot of guest drivers, or you've got the kind of car that you've got a different driver every week, this gives it a lot more predictability, which makes it safer for you as the owner and safer for your guest drivers.
Sure, makes the car more even handling. I think I do it because I can, and because I'm picky. I think that's really more what it comes down to, and because we are kind of at the pointy end of the field and chasing times where it doesn't matter. So,
and it's a substantial financial investment. But if you don't want to buy these corner scales, get on your Facebook Marketplace. They're available used from there. If there's a dirt track near you where you live, guaranteed there's some corner scales. And the thing about dirt track people is if you're not an ass and you come up and you explain to them what you do and what you're trying, not only will they probably loan you their corner scales for some beer, or for, you come over and grill out steaks while they're doing it, they'll walk you through this process again. They'll help you out. So this is not unobtainium. This is not spending $1 jillion. Now, if you're at the pointy end of the field, and this is another investment, because these corners weights and these hub stands, you can take these from vehicle to vehicle, but it's not something where you're going to have to drop 4 digits on just to be competitive.
Or if someone wanted to get them and they have a number of teams around their area, you can probably rent them out,
Absolutely.
And that would make your investment back, and other teams would be happy to pay, $100 to use your scales or something along those lines. Yeah. Right.
Yeah. Why not?
Mm-hmm. So consider that. It's one more trick that you can do to make your car just a little bit better. Think about it.
Awesome. Is it time?
Yeah.
Oh, I feel like it's time.
Hella sweet or but terrible time.
Wow.
How drunk on cough syrup are you right now?
It's Grandpa's cough medicine, kids.
Pretty bad. When they said, "Do you want the one with codeine?" You go, "Yeah."
Oh, the coming down off that one's no fun.
What about the one with
but
meth? Did you get the one with meth in it, Jeff? Because I hear that.
No.
Tylenol with meth. Hey, kids.
All right.
Is that a thing?
Hella
That's
sweet
funny.
or but terrible time. There are 2 Lemons cars for sale right now, and I am asking the
there's
podcast.
more than 2, but
well,
okay.
I know, but I'm comparing these 2. Terrible ideas. Which one would
Don't
you
you
buy?
have enough terrible ideas already?
Oh, I know which one I'd buy, because I remember this Fiera from back in the day.
All right,
gotta
so
open
let's start with the other one then.
Hang
Okay.
on, I haven't opened either.
Oh, come on.
Doesn't mean I would buy it. So one of them is the Duff Beer Racing Triumph Stag.
Ooh,
It's a Stag. The other one
but
is...
but it was owned by Duff Beer, who
Yeah. They're good with terrible
Still
cars.
looks pretty.
The other one's
really
an
are.
88 Fiero GT. I remember this car from the East Coast because it was
Oh, yeah.
driven by that guy who had a back tattoo with the Fiero on it.
Yes, he did.
Wow.
That went across both shoulder blades. It
Wow.
was an amazing tattoo.
Are you listening, Ike? Are you listening at all? Because you need to step up your Fiero game.
Oh no,
So-
you don't. No, you
All right. So, I know which one I'd have totally.
So we should mention what is going on with the Stag. It is a wonderful setup that we know from other crappy British cars. A Buick 231,
Not only...
TH350 Stag.
Jeff, I got to tell you,
Just
it's not
fun.
only any Buick 231. That is the magic Buick
Odd
231.
fire.
No, that is
No.
the exact magic 231 that Bruce bought at Craigslist in New Hampshire, and that ran beautifully, and it was a wonderful motor until they took it out.
Class
Yes,
C.
one Class C. They took it out to put the supercharged motor in. It sat in the back of Greg's garage for 4 years. I was at CMP with these guys, and the 231 that was in this car was running terribly. And I said, hey, I know where there's a recently rebuilt running great motor that they don't really want. And eventually hooked up Greg and Bruce and Duff Beer. They drove up from South Carolina to New York to get that motor from Greg's garage and put it in, and then it proceeded to win Class C the next race.
So this motor has 2 Class C wins on it.
In 2 terrible Triumphs.
Wow.
Wow.
That's awesome. So that is
That's Provenance right
Provenance. I was going to
Yes.
say my cough medicine is getting in the way.
there. You'd say it was Proveniste.
right?
Provenici.
Provolone, everybody.
That's provolone.
So, Triumph Stag, for sale, IOE winning, Class C winning motor multiple times,
Runs.
or
Comes with a seat. All the safety's within date. Just needs a fire extinguisher.
Wow, are you?
and they'd probably give you beer when you showed up.
for twice as much money, because that's about $1,500, you could have the world's greatest Fiero.
All right, my interwebs are moving slow. Is the Fiero a manual or an automatic?
It's a manual transmission. It was purchased in 2012 to run Lemons races. He ran 5 Lemons races. It was fast as hell, but it did what Fieros do.
Blowed up.
It never, I think, finished a race cleanly.
So, but if it's fast, it's a V6 one. So
3.4 dual overhead cam, 5-speed Getrag from an old Ochiva, and with a quad 4 V6 bell housing mishmash that makes the 3.4 work.
You know, there's a problem when your speed parts are from an Oldsmobile Achieva.
I'm just saying.
Hey, that was a Grassroots Motorsports cover car.
Yeah.
Reliable.
Even they make mistakes.
Right.
Reliable, but
how'd their
shitty,
Fox do this weekend?
Yeah.
Or shitty. Your choices here are reliable shitty or fast and shitty.
All right, I will jump on this grenade first. And I would probably rather do business with the Duff Beer guys because I feel like that would be easier. But having driven an automatic Lemons car, actually having driven an automatic race car, it is so awful. It is just so boring. Florida Man Donnie's race Camry is a rocket ship. It needs some suspension adjustments, but it's wicked fast. Matt was doing what Matt normally does when he's bored in a race car and he has an extra hand.
Hand on his crotch. We understand.
Right. And it's just one of those things. So I know that the Duff Beer Racing is a better car. I'm going to go with the Fiero because I feel like I would have more fun with it right up until it blew up. So 4 or 5 laps at least.
Yep. Yeah, I'm all in the Stag. Just needs a T5 swap, and then you're drinking beer. And...
Which is what was in the other Triumph, the TR.
Yeah.
So why did they put an automatic in it?
And it's a Stag. I think they got it this way from somebody.
Yeah.
This is apparently a popular thing to do back in the day, is swap odd fire Buick motors into Triumphs with blown motors. So
well, because they were available and cheap, and you couldn't get a Stag motor for anything.
Oh,
and as I understand, the V6
bell housing
is pretty quick.
No, the bell housing of the V6 Buicks matched the Rover V8, which had the same.
Well, yeah, because the Rover
V8
it was based on the Buick V8.
Yep.
So yeah.
Anyway, Chrissy.
This is a very riveting conversation. I will always say no to Fiero because my Fiero stranded me, so there is no Fiero that can make back into my heart that is worth anything.
I had this image of this Fiero with eyes like a puppy dog staring up at Chrissy.
Yep. I'm gonna kick it.
It's a Fiero,
so like a baby seal.
It's a Fiero. Only one of the eyes is going to be up. The other one doesn't work. So
pop up and down headlights. Pop up
down headlights. All right, that's a callback.
Again, we do this again.
Don't worry, it's not coming back next week.
Apparently not. No Fiero. I don't know about the other one. I don't know if I really want the other one. I mean, if it comes with beer, that's selling me a little bit, but I'm gonna say neither.
You know what's the better car that anyone should buy before any of these ones?
Yeah.
The Citroen.
Citroen.
True. I think I would take the Stag because the Stag is just a cool vehicle, and Fieros are just like, you're trying too hard, dude.
Plus, it's not going to work.
You're going to have to try too hard to get a Fiero to finish a race.
No.
And we should know because we got beat by the only one that lasted a race.
Ever finished a race. Yeah.
Yep, no Fiero. But thanks for that.
There it is. Somebody go buy these cars.
Are we going to put those links in our notes?
Yeah, put those links in the show notes so somebody can buy these terrible vehicles. Do we have any idea what we're doing next week?
No.
Of course we do.
Trying to get
always
Bruce on.
plan ahead.
Show. That's what we're gonna say. Riveting.
We are potentially going to talk about Roundy Round next week, right?
Maybe.
Sure.
Let's not disappoint everybody when we don't. So we don't know yet. How about that?
There you go. Thanks for downloading us. We hope you enjoyed this week's edition of Everyone Racers. We also hope you'll join us in the world of driving, racing, and building because everyone can be a racer, even you. If you enjoyed this podcast, subscribe. It's totally free. Then go to iTunes and give us a 5-star rating. Listen, even if you hate us, and you think Mental talks too much, and Jeff doesn't know how to pronounce your race team name, give us 5 stars and tell us why. If you have any questions or show ideas, drop a comment on our Facebook page, Everyone Racers, or email us at everyone.racers@gmail.com. Find us on Instagram or Twitter, everyone.racers. Thanks again. Until next week, keep the shiny side up. Unless you're driving a Triumph Stag, which has no shiny side, then just keep the wheels down.